Hello, everyone, and welcome to our math problem of the week. So this is actually the week of 4th of July. So this math problem is for the week of 4th of July. And as you can imagine, a lot of people are going to be traveling. So what are we going to see as we travel? You guessed it, there's going to be lots of traffic on the roads. According to the American Automobile Association, this 4th of July, approximately 49 million Americans have getaway plans. And then they go on to indicate that the vast majority of travelers, 41.4 million to be exact, will hit the road, the most on record for the holiday, and a 4.3% increase, or 4.3% more than last year. All right. Of course, they're numbers. So I'm excited about that. But here's our math problem of the week. How many hit the road last year? So they told us that they're going to be 41.4 million people, travelers on the road this year. But my question is, well, how many hit the road last year? All right, so how do we do this kind of problem? So this is almost like a percent of increase or percent of decrease problem, except we don't know what the previous year was. So we're kind of starting from a deficit, but we do know what this year was. Okay, so we do know that there's 41.4, and I'm just going to use 41.4 for right now. So we do know that there's 41.4 million, right? I'm not going to write all the zeros until we get to do some more math. So we do know that there are 41.4 million. We know that there was a number last year and it was less than 41.4. So I'm going to say minus X. And since last year was the beginning number, we're also going to divide it by X. Okay. So I'm putting the value that was last year after the 41.4 because it is less than, the current year where we are right now. And we know that all of that equals 4.3%, right? But we want to go ahead and change that percent to a decimal. So in order to do that, we're going to move it 2 spaces, 1, 2 to the left. So it's actually going to be 0.043. All right. So now I know you're looking at that 4.3 and you're like, well, it's already a decimal, but because it has that percent sign after it, it's actually not a decimal. Okay. So because of that percent sign is actually a percent, in order to change a percent to a decimal, we're going to be moving it 2 spaces to the left. Okay. So 1, 2. All right, so that is the problem. That is the setup for the problem that we're working with. Again, it's like a percent of increase or percent of decrease problem. It's an increase from last year. So we're putting the 41.4 million first, subtract it from X, which we don't know what that is, and divide it by the starting value, which was last year's number, which is still X. We don't know what that is, okay? So how do we figure out the X? So the way I would like to do this is I can actually set this up as a proportion. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put this over 1. So now I have 2 fractions. It's a proportion. So now I can go ahead and cross multiply. So now what we're looking at, oops, I didn't mean to do that. So now what we're looking at is 41.4 minus X. That's times 1, right? Equals X. I'm looking at this X down here, times .043. So I cross multiplied. All right, 1 times anything is anything, right? So 1 times 41.4 is 41.4. 1 times minus x is minus x, right? So I can go ahead and drop the parentheses there. So it'll be 41.4 minus x equals, and now I can multiply the x times 0.043, which is pretty much 0.043. And then I put an x after it, times x. All right, again, I'm solving for x, okay? I'm solving for x. So I want to go ahead and get all the x's to one side. So I'm going to go ahead and add x to both sides. So what happens over here is that these x's cancel out. And I bring down a 41.4. Guys, join the community. I need a rock on board so I can write properly on this. And then this is when we add x, it's pretty much saying 1x. The coefficient on that x is a 1. Okay, so what that's going to end up being is 1.043x. All right. I still haven't solved for x yet, but I've gotten all the x's to one side at least. Okay, so I still haven't solved for x yet. So in order to solve for x, I have to divide both sides by 1.043 so I could get the x by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 1.043. All right, and then let's go ahead and draw an arrow. We're going to go over here since you ran out of room. And what's going to happen is I'm going to divide 41.4, but now here's what I'm going to do as I'm dividing this. Well, I guess I could just leave it as 41.4, and then we just remember this is million, right? So if I did the 41.4 and I divide it by 1.043, I would get 39. If we're rounding, I would say 39.7, but it's actually 39.693. So it's going to be 39.7 million, approximately 39.7 million hit the road last year. And so remember to put the million after that because that's actually the numbers that we're dealing with. Okay. So it's actually 39.7 million hit the road last year. So this is our percent of increase, or, that's the number. This is kind of like another way of looking at a percent of increase or decrease problem, okay? We can use that to determine, well, how much happened last year, okay? And that's the answer. Thank you for joining me for the math problem of the week. If you have any suggestions for math problems of the week, please go ahead and indicate that in the comments below, and go ahead and make sure you check us out at irlmath.org. Thank you so much for joining us.